Hello everybody, today I'm going to be doing a little tutorial on how easy it is to use these dollar store um, plastic baubles. They're quite strong and quite hard, so quite durable. So you want to pop off the top there, and then the next step you want to do is to primer it. Now you can use any gesso or primer. I'm just using Pentart. And what I'm going to do is that I am going to come on this with a sponge. Now, the reason I'm using a sponge is simply because I do not want to have brush strokes on this. And also the effect that I'm going for is more of a frosted type look. So again, you can use any type of gesso or primer that you have on hand. Now, if you don't have any gesso or primer on hand, you could also do it with white acrylic paint. Just test an area first because the plastic might not allow for the paint to take. So I'm just giving this a very light coverage. I'm not going to worry too much about the top part piece because that will get covered with the metal filing there. And I'm just going to work my way around. What I will do is 2 coats of this, and after I've done the 2 coats is when I'll start working on the bauble. You can also come in and do a coat of acrylic white paint if you want it very opaque, and that will give you really good coverage. But I do recommend putting down some type of primer or gesso so that if you choose to do the acrylic paint, at least it will stay on. So just going to continue doing this bauble until it is all complete and nice and frosted. So again, these are just from the local Dollar Tree. They have lots of different shapes and sizes available. I chose this one. I like the flat area of it and the size of it. Now we're just going to set that to dry. It usually takes about 10 minutes for this to dry before you come in with a second coat or before you come in with a white acrylic paint over this. So I also got another bauble because I really liked the fact that it was a light bulb, and I was like, I do like the steampunk look. So this one I'm going to convert into a steampunk one. It has a screw on top, so you're just going to screw the top back on. So let's go ahead and let's give this one the same primer that we did for the other one. Again, just put it onto the back of a sponge, working area by area. And again, we're just giving it that frosted look. Now what I did end up doing is just giving these one coat, letting them dry for about 10 minutes, and then I came in with my white acrylic paint. Don't worry about getting the coverage perfect because any areas will be covered with the acrylic paint, or if you choose a second coat of this primer. So what I'm going to do is finish this one off, and then I'm going to also allow this one to dry alongside the other one. And then once it's dry, I will come back and we'll start decorating our baubles. That one's still a little bit wet, but it's getting there. So I went in, like I said, after the first coat of the primer, I came in and did white acrylic paint. And I did it in the exact same way that I put the primer on. Here I'm going to use the Owl's House Rub-Ons. This one is DFLRB179. And I really like the Santa Claus, and I thought it would fit really well onto this plastic bauble. Now, for some reason I've got my big scissors here. I should have brought my little scissors, but we will manage, it will suffice. So I'm just going to cut the Santa Claus out. He's going to be my focal point. And again, as I was mentioning about the bauble, the way I put the acrylic paint on was exactly how I put the primer on. I just used the same brush and dabbed it on. Now, again, you don't have to do that because you can leave it so it looks frosty. You don't have to have it as opaque as mine is. So I'm going to center Santa Claus and his deer in the middle. And then I'm just going to treat it like a regular rub-on. Now I have sped this up a little bit here because you would be here forever watching me do this. And apologies for the shaky video. One, the bauble is not flat. And two, the camera is attached to the table. So everything looks a little bit shaky. So sorry about that. Hence why I've sped this part up. The rub-ons transfer really easily. They're not like your childhood rub-ons, if you remember those. Stamperia has so many different styles and such beautiful transfers. For this bauble, I'm going to stick to the Owl's House collection. Again, that was Rub-On DFLRB179. I'm just lifting up the edges just to make sure that we've got the transfer on. Because we sponged on the acrylic paint, it's not a slick surface. So we want to make sure that we're getting the rub-on transferred. Just need to get his hat here and then we should be good. So there you have it, all lovely. And then what I decided to do, I was going to continue with the same collection, and I'm going to use the same rub-on that I have there and do something on the back too, because I felt the back looked really plain. And I have a rabbit from this collection, and it's from a different, I believe, rub-on. Same collection, just a different rub-on. I think it's DFLRB178. And what I'm going to do to save you the shaky camera, I'm going to actually do these rub-ons off camera. And then I will show you once they are done. But I'm going to use the same technique I used for the Santa Claus. Here we go. So the rabbit is on with his tree, and we have Santa Claus in the front. So the next step on completing your bauble is you can use distress inks, you can use distress oxides, You can use acrylic paint, sprays, whatever you feel like. I'm using weathered wood, stormy sky, and I'm also using iced spruce. Again, you can use the oxides or any other ink pads that you may have, but you do want them to be water reactive, as I'll show you here. So I'm just tapping off some excess. I'm going in with the iced spruce, and you're basically using it like you would on cardstock. And this is optional. You don't have to come in and do this. I chose to do it. I found that my bauble needed a little bit of color. Now I'm just going to spritz here, and it's going to have the same reaction it would if it was on cardstock, and it allows you to pull back and you get this really nice mottled effect. So it almost looks like snow crystals on the bauble itself. So you just want to keep going round, and you can work in small sections. You can come in and distress it all around, but I worked on one side at a time. Again, come in and spray it, and then pick up with your paper towel or napkin, and you get that mottled effect. Just gives it a really nice effect. And then I'm going to go in with my weathered wood, and I'm going to basically do the same thing. Make sure I'm clean my brush first, and do the same thing, but leave some areas of the ice spruce exposed. The great thing about the distress ink is that if you get too much down, or if it's an oxide you get too much down, you can pull back by putting some water on there. Now I tried to stick with colors that I felt worked well with the image on both sides. And I can see the bottom where his feet are is a little bit heavy for me, so that would be a great opportunity there. I go to come in with some water and pull back on it. So the last color that I'm going to use is Stormy Sky. I didn't necessarily go in any particular order, but the Stormy Sky is a little bit brighter, so I wanted that kind of more on the top. You could have used reds, you could have used grays, browns, whatever you feel like using. It just works if it picks up the color from the actual rub-on, so it keeps it all cohesive. And continue to work at it till you get it where you want. Again, if you get too much down, pull it back. If you have too less, add more. But it's looking really good. So then I decided I wanted to come in with some gathered twigs, distress oxide, just to give it some more extra dimension. I still felt it looked a little bit flat for me, but again, it's, up to you what you like and the look you're going for. So here I'm just coming in with the gathered twigs, and I'm going to use the same technique again, where I am going to come in and spritz this. So I did do the rabbit one off camera, as you saw me do the one on the Santa Claus, but I hadn't put in the gathered twigs yet. There you go. So that one I didn't even spritz. I just kind of have left it by the looks of things. So it just gives it added tone, just gives it more kind of depth. And it ties into the deer that is there, that is brown. So there we have it. So we'll have one final step after this. So that final step is that we are now going to seal it. So you can use any kind of sealer you want. I'm using Pentart's Decoupage Matte Medium. I want to keep my bauble matte. I don't want it to be shiny. If you want it to be shiny, then use a glossy varnish. Pentart has a really lovely glossy varnish, so when you put it on, not only does it seal it, it also gives it a glossy look. But again, for me, I want to have a matte look. Use what you have on hand. There's lots of varnishes available. There's lots of decoupage products available. And you want to come in and you want to use a very light coat when you're doing this. Those of you who work with Pentart products know that less is always more. So just a very light coat, and you'll notice that the Pentart decoupage is not disturbing the distress inks in any way, even though it is water-based. So just give it some nice little coverage. And then you want to set that aside to dry. And again, this should be dry in about 10 minutes. So your bauble is basically complete. Now, I'm gonna do my steampunk one that I have here, and I just wanted to show you the steampunk rub-ons that I was thinking about, and I decided to go with the top one, which is DFLRB 190. Now this is from the Voyages collection. So I did that one off camera so you wouldn't have to deal with the shakiness. I'm going to screw this on. Oops, nearly cut that off. Meant to cut the label. And then same with this one. And you can see I'm going to have to touch that one up. There's a little bit of paint missing there. Yep. And again, cut the label off. And here you have the two baubles ready to go. So I did do a little bit of a touch up on that one before showing you. I just think they're adorable. They're such easy craft to do. And you're not needing a lot of products. You can get your baubles from the dollar store. And then you can use rub-ons that you have, and you can use any kind of sealer that you have. I haven't sealed this one yet. I will do that off camera, but this is my steampunk one. And I was talking to my sister Dali, and she says, you know, you could wrap twine around where the metal part is too. That would look really nice, so I might do that. As you can see, I've got quite a bit left over from the Voyagers one, and I really like the one where it has the guy. It's very masculine for a masculine bauble. So then I thought I would do a bonus one where we're working with a slick surface. So I have these baubles in my store. I have these smaller ones, and then I have the larger regular size ones. And on here, the rub-on goes on right away because it's a slick surface. What I did do was, these were clear glass ornaments. I actually put white paint in them, and then I let the paint drip out and dry because I did not want it clear. So these have paint on the inside opposed to the outside. And I have lots of these, so I know what I'll probably be doing. But if you need any, you know how to get a hold of me. So rub-on goes on really easy, such a gorgeous effect. The area is so nice and slick. As you can see, it's shiny there. And then I decided I need to do a little bit more to this, to my little bonus bauble. And I'm going to come in with the vintage transfers from Stamperia. Now with these, you don't really need to use the tool, whether you're using these on paper. If you've watched me do my journals, I don't use the tool to rub it off like the bone folder that you use. Well, I did use my nail there a little bit. You can just use your thumbs or your fingers to rub them off. With the other ones, you do need to use your bone folder to make sure that you're getting the rub on. And these vintage transfers actually come in that have Christmas baubles on them and Christmas decorations, and different types of backgrounds. But for this one, I just wanted to stick to the writing. And the front of this bauble is from the rub-ons from the Nutcracker collection from last year. So there you have it. A different way to do your baubles, with paint on the inside, and then the other two baubles are paint on the outside. So I really hope you enjoyed watching today. Really, really easy, simple baubles to do. I hope you will go out and try doing these. Thank you for watching, as always.